Good morning. And let us be very clear at the outset, because words in our time have been so thinned out by use that they no longer carry their original weight. The phrase, born again, has been made into a badge, a social label, something to be worn in a club or argued on a corner. But it was never a membership, and it was never a mood. It is an interior translation of consciousness, an entrance, quiet, irresistible, into another atmosphere, another climate of being. You still walk the same streets, answer to the same name, perhaps live with the same people, but, and listen now, you are not in the same atmosphere. You can be in it, but not of it. Let the governing premise be set right here so that we do not wander. Nothing outside has to change first. Not the job, not the body, not the bank account, not even the temperament you've been scolding. The new life does not begin with a changed scene. It begins with a changed seeing, an inner climate that can be felt as rest where there was tension, as spaciousness where there was pressure, as liberty where there was bondage. And you must learn to recognize it, not argue for it. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Take that not as a quotation to throw at a problem, but as a password you whisper within yourself to remember what this change actually produces. Liberty, freedom, not as a theory, but as the immediate sign that you have stepped over the threshold. We are, then, not gathering to debate religion, nor to trade theologies, nor to count the merits of one label against another. We are not going to try to do anything to the outer picture. All we are going to do is bring to every appearance the realization of God's presence. Because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And when liberty appears, appetites that once dragged you by the collar discover they have no air to breathe. How? Not by your will, not by the steel of resolution. In a different atmosphere, the old desires do not need to be strangled. They wither for lack of climate. You will find, if you are honest, that what once tempted now bores you. What once frightened now cannot find you. Do not let your concern be for health, for supply, for a better temperament. Do not make this a campaign. Let your concern be that today, now, you touch, even if only for a breath, that interior current, that surging of the Spirit within you, which says without words, "Here I am." And, when that is felt, be content to let it be the only announcement, because in that presence is the atmosphere of your rebirth. This is the orientation. We are entering a new climate. We are learning the password. We are agreeing that liberty is the sign, and we are laying down the weapons of willpower. The rest will unfold as Spirit unfolds itself, and you will discover that you still live, but not in the same atmosphere. And that makes all the difference. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Thank you. Now let us set the foundation without compromise, because, unless this is seen, we will keep polishing the mirror and never wash the face. The outer picture, health, supply, relationships, habits, is a projection of the state of consciousness. It is a shadow, an echo. To repaint the shadow without changing the light that casts it is futility. It may look different for a minute, but it is the same shadow, the same source, the same strain. You can be very diligent with brushes and colors and call it progress. You can organize it with charts and resolutions, but you have not touched the cause. All of this is to say very plainly, nothing changes until consciousness changes. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Where that Spirit is not realized, there is bondage, even if the bondage has been decorated. Now, why does willpower fail, and quickly? because willpower is wrestling an appearance while feeding the cause. Will says, I will not eat, I will not smoke, I will not fear, I will not lust. But it says it from a sense of personal selfhood, from the belief, I, apart from God, can do something. That I is the very root of the appetite, the quiet cry of separation that says, I am empty, I am threatened, I am not enough. And so it seeks a filler, food, or praise, or dollars, or control. You see? When you fight the appetite on the field of the appetite, you strengthen the belief that gave it birth. The arm of flesh will fail because it is the arm of flesh. Do not be surprised when the vow grows tired by Thursday and the appetite returns with interest. You have been bending bars on a paper cage. Take a simple homely illustration, because metaphysics is only difficult when we try to carry it with our heads instead of with our seeing. If you write 2 times 2 equals 5 on a slate, you do not need courage, you do not need endurance, you do not need to clench your jaw, you need to see. The instant 4 is realized, the 5 evaporates without a funeral. No struggle, no triumph, no medal. In the same way, appetites that seem strong are, at base, equations under a false premise. I live by bread alone. I am a body. I am a personal mind. Bring light, not push. We are not going to try to do anything to it. We are going to bring the realization of God's presence, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. In that liberty, desire changes without wrestling, because the premise changes. So if rebirth is real, and it is, what is it that is reborn? Not your body. It will have its seasons and its sleep and its waking as always. Not your circumstance. You may keep the same address for a time. It is your awareness of life that is translated, your sense of self, your atmosphere. You still live, but not in the same climate. You can be in it, but not of it. And from that altered altitude, the world rearranges around you as a consequence, not as a campaign. Transformation is not self-improvement by force. It is what follows when seeing is lifted. Therefore, do not let your concern be for changing the shadow. Let your concern be to step into the light, to remember your password. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And to let that realized presence correct the equation at its root. Then the old 5s of your life will go quietly, and you will wonder why they seemed so loud. From this day onward, and I mean from this very hour, you have no demonstration to make except one: the realization of the presence of God. Write that inside, not on paper, but in your intention. You are not going to try to make health demonstrate, or supply, or harmony. We are not going to try to do anything to it, whatever it seems to be. All we are going to do is bring to it the realization of God's presence. And when we attain that, liberty will be found there. Because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty is the sign that you have made the only demonstration there is to make. Now, here is the paradox that the mind objects to, and the heart knows. The moment you stop trying to change the condition, you begin to touch the presence that dissolves the very basis of the condition. Why? Because the urge to fix it is the announcement that you are believing in it as something, as law, as power. Prayer as request is bargaining with a ghost. Prayer as realization is consent to the fact of God here. Do you see the difference? In the first, you are pleading with a faraway deity to rearrange shadows. In the second, you are yielding, resting, in the actuality that God is the one presence and the one power, already at hand, closer than breath. And that realization, felt even slightly, alters the atmosphere in which the shadow was claiming to exist. Do not let your concern be for a different picture. Let your concern be that, in the face of any picture, you pause. Yes, even in the middle of a sentence if you must, and remember your password. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Not as a charm, not as a mental club, but as the quiet turning of attention from the flicker to the light. Sit, if only for a moment, until you feel, even as a brush of wind, the surging of the Spirit within you. That feeling is not emotion, it is the awareness of presence. And when it is there, let it be enough. Do not look back at the condition to take its pulse. Do not lift the plant to see if the roots have grown. Stay with presence. You will learn, and you must learn, to regard every so-called problem as an alarm clock reminding you of your one task. Realize God here. If fear tries to speak, if compulsion whispers, if the mind chatters its noisy arithmetic, answer none of it. Bring only the realization. You will discover that fear loses its voice where presence is felt. Compulsion cannot breathe in that air. The mental noise fades not because you muzzled it, but because you are no longer listening for it. In other words, you still live, but not in the same atmosphere. And in that atmosphere, the old appetites, the old alarms, cannot find you. This is the core revelation. Rebirth begins the instant the goal ceases to be a better condition and becomes God alone. Make that turn today. Hold to it with gentleness, but with utter integrity. And when you feel that living hush, that inner yes, say within yourself the only thing that need be said. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Then be still, and let liberty do what liberty always does. Now here is where we meet ourselves, and, it is not always comfortable. You say, but I came for relief. I can't sleep, I can't stop, I can't pay the bills, I hurt. I know. Do not think I am deaf to that, or that spirit is indifferent. But listen carefully. When we come to this message, we come speaking very noble words. I seek God. I want the Christ. I want to be born again. And underneath, almost always, we are bargaining. We want the pain to stop, the habit to quit us, the bank account to smile, the people to behave, and then we will be holy. And I must tell you plainly, because love must be honest. None of us mean it at first when we say, I'm not trying to get well. We say it because the teaching says it, but the heart is peeking at the symptom to see if it worked. This is the self-deception that keeps the atmosphere heavy. The mind makes pious talk, but the motive is still on the condition. And as long as the aim is an outcome, consciousness stays anchored in the problem world. Do you see that? If God is the means and health is the end, you have inverted the order of reality. You have made the shadow the law and the light the servant. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Prayer spoken with a split intention cannot lift you, because the very act of aiming at the result is fastening your attention to the picture. You are still counting the waves when you should be realizing the sea. We are not going to try to do anything to it. All we are going to do is bring the realization of God's presence, because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And until that is truly your object, you will taste only a wavering breeze, not the steady climate of rebirth. So here is the honest test, and you have to pass it within yourself, not before me. When you say, I'm not trying to get well, you have to mean it. Not as stoicism, not as resignation, but as integrity. You have to say, sick or well, rich or poor, honored or misunderstood, I am determined that the object of my life is spiritual awareness. I am after God, not after the uses of God. I prefer presence to relief. I will not measure today by whether the symptom faded, the phone rang, the door opened. I will measure today by whether, in stillness, I felt, even for a breath, the surging of the Spirit within me. Do not let your concern be for health. Do not let your concern be for supply. Let your concern be that, here and now, you turn from the flicker to the light, and stay until there is that quiet yes inside. That yes is liberty's footprint. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. How do you know if you have meant it? Very simply. After your prayer, do you immediately look sideways to see if the condition has changed? Do you take the pulse of the problem to verify your progress? If so, you have your answer. You have made the condition your God. Drop it. Return. Say within yourself, gently but firmly, I'm not trying to get well. I'm consenting to God. And then, be still. You will find that when the motive is clean, the atmosphere changes. You still live, but not in the same climate. You can be in it, but not of it. And in that climate, without any will on your part, old appetites cannot breathe. Fear loses its base. And even if the outer picture has not yet rearranged, you are free. That is the sign. That is honesty. That is the doorway through which rebirth walks. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Thank you. Now, let us name what we are up against, so that you stop blaming yourself for what is not personal. Behind the noise of your desires and fears, there is an atmosphere, a collective suggestion that whispers day and night. You are a body with a clock on it. You are a bank account measured in digits. You are a reputation to be defended. You are a history that must be explained. You are a citizen of a threatened world that must be watched. That is hypnotism. Not a man on a stage with a watch, but the steady pressure of the world mind declaring you incomplete, endangered, insufficient. And if all day long your eyes and ears are trained on that current, headlines built to spike the pulse, images designed to inflame wanting, conversations that trade in scarcity, do not be surprised if at night the hand reaches for the anesthetic. Compulsion is often not pleasure at all. It is numbing the ache that hypnotism produces. Look at the modern forms, because the costumes change, but the actor is the same. The little red dot calling something new, don't miss it. The endless scroll that manufactures absence by promising more. The curated lives that teach you to measure your day by comparison. The health monitors that turn a temple into a data project, whispering, at this number you are safe, at that number you are a failure. The credit score that baptizes you into worthiness or shame. Advertising that does not sell objects, but sells you a story. You are not enough, but with us, you might be. And of course, the old machinery is still in place. Propaganda that trains you to fear your neighbor, to hate in colors and flags, to feel powerful when you are angry and small when you are still. Do you see it? This is not your private devil. It is a climate. Now, how does this breed appetite? Very simply. The suggestion, I am separate, I lack, creates an ache. The ache seeks a quick blanket, food, drink, scrolling, shopping, control, the next conquest, the next argument to prove you exist. And then, because it does not satisfy, Shame enters and says, "Weak." No, hear me. Much of what you call weakness is an intelligent but misdirected attempt to quiet a pain that never belonged to you. It is the world's ache playing itself in your nerves. The answer is not a firmer fist. We are not going to try to do anything to the appetite. We are going to expose the hypnotism that feeds it and bring the realization of God's presence, because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Here is the inner refusal, the clean sword. Who said that you're naked? Who told you that you are exposed, lacking, incomplete? Not spirit. This is not me. This is my body. I am invisible life appearing as person. I live by every word of God, not by bread alone, not by digits, not by likes. Say it softly, not as a battle cry, but as recognition, and then be still until you feel that interior yes. In that air, the world's voice fades as naturally as a dream on waking. You still live, but not in the same atmosphere. You can be in it, but not of it. And in that atmosphere, the ache is healed at its root. The anesthetic is no longer needed, and the appetite, finding no climate, withers without your struggle. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Let that be your diagnosis and your defense. What does it feel like then, when the hypnotism thins and you are quietly translated? Not a trumpet, not fireworks. It is more like walking out of a crowded, smoky room into evening air and realizing, without drama, that you had been breathing through a cloth. You still live in the same town. You drive the same roads. You answer to the same name. You look in the same mirror. But you are not in the same atmosphere. There is a softness under things, a stillness that does not ask your permission. You find that between the thought and the reaction, there is space, room enough to remember your password, room enough to turn. And, in that room, you discover a very simple fact. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. How does liberty show itself? First, in appetite. The former attractions, whatever they were for you, begin to lose their taste. Not because you have become stern, not because you have set your jaw, but because the ache that drove you to them is not there. The cocktail that once promised a small rest now feels like sand in clear water. The argument that used to wind you like a spring now feels foreign, like a jacket 2 sizes too small. The endless scroll bores you because you are not hunting for yourself in it. Even the little victories, the point scored, the clever reply, do not feed you, and you are relieved. You are not performing holiness. You are not rehearsing virtue. The hunger has changed address. Man shall not live by bread alone. You feel, in your own way, the surging of the Spirit within you, and in that climate, the old leaves fall without you tugging at them. You still live, but not in the same atmosphere. Now, there is a cost, and I would not love you if I pretended otherwise. Friends and family may not understand this quiet translation. They will say you are different, and they will be right. They may invite you back to the old room with its familiar smoke, and you may try, out of kindness or nostalgia, to step in for an hour. But you will feel a pain you didn't feel before, a tightness that wasn't there. They couldn't follow you in here. Neither can you go back there. Do not blame them. This is not rejection. It is a matter of climates. You can be in it, but not of it. You can love them without returning to the air that sickens you. And your love, cleansed of need, will be more tender, more patient, because it is no longer bargaining. That loneliness you sometimes call it, do not fear it. It is not exile, it is initiation. It is the corridor where reliance transfers from the arm of flesh to spirit. The arm of flesh, approval, routines, props, even your own moods, has carried you as far as it can. In this passage you learn a new resting. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. You will cry once or twice in that hallway, yes, but notice the tears. They cleanse without bitterness. Underneath, there is a steadying joy that does not need a reason. When the ache of being misunderstood rises, do not try to fix the ache. We are not going to do anything to it. Bring the realization of presence. Sit, even for a minute, until the inner yes is felt. Let your concern be only that. And when that quiet current is there, notice again the signature of this rebirth: liberty. The pressure lifts without argument, and the appetite for company, for anesthetic, for proving yourself, loses its root. To be born again is to live in the same world, yes, but not of its atmosphere. And that new atmosphere changes desire at the root. Keep to your password. Stay in the new air. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Now, because spirit is orderly, let us be honest about how this translation matures. Do not scorn the rungs that brought you to the landing. There are stages, initiation, really, and while each has its gift, each also has a ceiling you must outgrow. Rebirth is not a belief you adopt. It is a passing through until consciousness is spirit-governed, until you still live but not in the same atmosphere, until the I that struggled has yielded to the I that lives itself as you. The first stage is what I would call metaphysical denial. Here you learn a holy refusal. You stop granting power to appearances. Pain knocks. You answer, you have no law, no God-given authority. Lack points to digits. You say, 2 times 2 is 4. There is no statute for 5. You are de-hypnotizing yourself from the world's shout, and this is good. It breaks the spell that says effects are causes. But, and listen, even here the problem is still the star of the show. You are watching symptoms to see if your denial works. You are timing the storm. The attention is on it, only now with a new toolkit. It helps, yes, but the center of gravity is not yet presence. Then comes the second stage, the mental life. Right thinking, truth statements, noble ideas. You learn to declare scripture, to align thought with reality, to keep watch at the door of the mind. Results come. Of course they do. Harmony appears more frequently. And yet, if you are candid, you grow tired. The effort is subtle, but it is effort. You are managing life with refined thoughts. The ego has moved from the bar room to the library. It is more respectable now, but it is still I of myself can perform. The arm of flesh has put on a metaphysical sleeve. Sooner or later, dryness sets in, a sense that you are pushing river. Why? Because will, however polished, is still will. It is not surrender. And now, the third degree. Here you must face death, not the event on a calendar, but the end of personal control. Leave your nets. Follow me. I will make you fishers of men. Do you hear it? Lay down the nets of fixing, of measuring outcomes, of using God to arrange shadows. You come to the place where you can say, and mean it, I can of mine own self do nothing. I am not trying to get well. I am consenting to God. We are not going to try to do anything to it. All we are going to do is bring the realization of God's presence and stand there until the inner yes is felt. In that yes, Spirit is the life, the law, and the doer. Thou couldst have no power over me, not because you shouted it, but because you are standing in a different atmosphere. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. This, my friends, is rebirth maturing. From refusal of appearances to cultivation of right ideas, to the holy relinquishment by which Spirit lives itself as you. And in that climate, appetites do not need a funeral. They cannot breathe. The mind is not muzzled, it is quieted by presence. You can be in it, but not of it. Sick or well, rich or poor, praised or ignored, your measurement is one. Did I feel the surging of the Spirit? If so, let that be your entire testimony. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Take your password into every room. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And let surrender keep you in the new air. Now, if surrender is the door, identity is the floor you must learn to stand on. You cannot live in the new atmosphere while believing you are the old tenant. The most practical statement you will ever make is this: this is not me. This is my body. I am invisible. Do not make poetry of it, make it practice. Say it softly within yourself as you would check a compass at sea. You are not denying the body. You are refusing to mistake the garment for the life that wears it, the instrument for the musician, the house for the occupant. You still live, yes, but not as a bundle of sensations under a sentence. You live as consciousness, as Spirit appearing as you. Why is this essential? Because fear sits on the throne only while you believe you are a body to be preserved, improved, and paraded. The body identity must be fed every hour, numbers to reassure, mirrors to approve, comforts to anesthetize, attention to confirm existence, substances to manage feelings, consumption to maintain image, control to quiet the tremor that says, I could be hurt, I could be left, I could be less. And appetite is nothing more than fear wearing a smile. When identity is flesh, fear is logic, and compulsion becomes policy. You reach for what will cushion the nerves because you have accepted the nerves as you. Do you see that? The chain is simple. False identity births fear. Fear hires appetite. Appetite builds habit. Habit calls itself me. Now turn. Let the center shift, not with strain, but with recognition. This is not me. This is my body. I am invisible. Not absent, not vague, invisible. Spirit, the animating I that uses form without living by it. Man shall not live by bread alone. In that realization, the body is loved as an instrument, cared for as a steward would. But it is no longer a god issuing terror or a beggar demanding tribute. You will notice first, not a miracle, but a mercy. Space opens where panic used to be. The timeline loses its whip. The ache to prove yourself recedes. And with that loosening, the cravings it fueled weaken. We are not going to try to do anything to the craving. We are bringing presence to the root. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty arrives exactly as atmosphere. Quiet, almost shy. Before the outward picture shifts, something inside is already different. The compulsion that felt like a must now feels like a suggestion you can watch pass. The snack that promised anesthesia looks clumsy in this light. The argument trying to recruit you cannot find your signature. Even the body's alarms, loud as they can be, lose their ultimatum. They become weather, not identity. "Thou couldst have no power over me," arises not as defiance, but as fact, because you have withdrawn the only power error ever had, your consent to be a body under its jurisdiction. Practice it in the instant of fear. Pause, even in mid-thought, and return to your password, not as aspiration, but as evidence. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Let it witness to what is already true. You can be in it, but not of it. Do not let your concern be to fix the sensation. Let your concern be to feel, even faintly, the surging of the Spirit within you. Stand there. In that standing, identity is clarified. Fear loses its base, and compulsion begins to dissolve by the only law it ever obeys, the law of no longer believing a lie. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Now, let us make this very plain so there is no confusion in the doing. At least 3 times a day, you hear that? Not when you remember, not when the mood is friendly. At least morning, midday, and evening, you must stop the mental argument and sit in quietness. Close the door, even if it is only the door of your eyelids at a desk, and withdraw attention from every picture. We are not going to try to do anything to the picture. We are not coming to get something, to fix something, or to bargain. All we are going to do is bring to this moment the realization of God's presence. Let that be the whole object. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. How do you begin? Gently. Turn within, as if you were stepping out of a crowded room into a chapel. Let the thought say, not as a mantra to force, but as a signal to surrender. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Then be still. Do not chase thoughts, do not swat them. Let them pass as birds over water. Sit until there is the surge of spirit. What is the surge? It is not something you manufacture. It is the felt assurance, the inner warmth, the slight softening at the center, a clarity, an authority that is not loud, yet leaves no doubt. Sometimes it is a hush that seems to spread behind the forehead. Sometimes it is a loosening in the chest. Sometimes it is simply the simple fact, I am no longer straining. You will know it, not by excitement, but by liberty. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Now what if, the problem is screaming? Do something! Think! Fix! No. That is your cue to turn. You are not going to work on the lump, the lack, the loneliness, the habit. You are going to bring realization. Whisper your password, not at the problem, but to your own attention. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And remain until the atmosphere changes. How long? Until. Not 5 minutes to meet a result. Not a stopwatch grace. When you say you are seeking presence, you must not be secretly timing God to see if the doorbell rings or the pain moves. That is self-deception. Stay until you feel, even faintly, the inner yes. If there is no sensation, but the strain has eased, and a quiet thankfulness for God alone appears, that is the surge. Do not then turn and take the pulse of the condition. Do not lift the plant to see if the roots have grown. Stay with presence. Make this holy appointment non-negotiable. Morning, before the world's hypnotism unfurls its banners. Midday, to rinse the mind of the dust of hours and return to reality. Evening, to yield the day back into the hands from which it came. And in between, practice the instant return. A 30-second sanctuary when fear knocks. A breath-long turn when desire tries to recruit you. Do not let your concern be for health, supply, or better feelings. Let your concern be that you feel, however quietly, the surging of the Spirit within you. In that surge is your only demonstration. You still live, yes, but not in the same atmosphere. And from that air, the outer will take care of itself, by a law not yours to manage. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Let that be the rhythm of your day and the keeper of your rebirth. Now, there is one more turn, and it is subtle enough to slip past those who have walked far. You have learned to seek presence and to let liberty be the sign. You are tasting a new atmosphere. But even now, the mind, quick with habits, will try to keep a little ledger. I am so grateful the pain eased, the payment came, the call was kind, the craving was quiet. And while that sounds holy, it is the old bookkeeping with a psalm on the cover. Gratitude for outcomes fixes attention on effects. It keeps the shadow as the measure of the light. You will not secure the new birth by counting demonstrations. Give up gratitude for healings, for increased supply, for reconciliation, for any form of good. Do not be shocked by that. I am not saying despise harmony. I am saying stop worshiping it. Gratitude must be worship, not accounting. Be grateful that God is, grateful for the nearness that needs no sign, grateful for the government of spirit, whether or not today's weather reports improvement. Let your thanksgiving be for the presence itself, not for the pictures that may or may not reflect it this hour. Do not let your concern be for health or supply or peaceable feelings. Let your concern be that you feel, however quietly, the surging of the Spirit within you. Thank God for God. Thank God for the unseen order that is its own proof. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Why does this seal the rebirth? Because here, negotiation ends. The soul stops haggling with life and rests in life. The heart is no longer testing, if you, then I, but consenting, thou art. And in that consent, a profound ease appears. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. You still live, but not in the same atmosphere. Old appetites wither without debate because there is nothing left in you trying to purchase relief. The presence is sufficient, and sufficiency ends bargaining. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Practice this in the bright moments and the bleak. When harmony blossoms, do not rush to kiss the blossom. Turn and give thanks to the root, God alone. When the picture has not yet cleared, do not beg the picture. Turn and give thanks to the root, God alone. Whisper within, I am grateful for God, for God's being, for God's nearness. That is my wealth, my health, my safety. We are not going to try to do anything to the condition. We are going to abide in the realized presence and let gratitude anchor us there. This is not stoicism. It is love resting in its source. And then see the promise fulfilled, quietly, naturally. A life no longer driven by appetite or haunted by fear. A joy that does not need amusement to prove itself alive. A peace not as the world giveth, and therefore not removable by the world. You can be in it, but not of it. Morning, midday, evening, you return to the sanctuary, and the heart's thanks is simple and single. God is. That is enough. That is more than enough. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Thank you.